There's a new yarn out from Bernat. It's Bernat Socks, and it is the durable answer to the bold fashion trend right now that's going on in the sock world. Yes, there are trends in the sock world. The cool thing about this yarn though is that it's really great for any kind of fine gauge object that you want to be really boldly patterned. It could be great for small baby items or for hats and that sort of thing. But we're gonna focus on socks today, and really just a technique in socks that often makes people a little bit leery to dive into a project like that. We're gonna talk about turning the heel, which is the part that makes your sock face outward like your foot would. I'm going to demystify it for you so you will no longer be afraid to dive into Sockland. Let's go. For this technique, we suggest using a ball of Bernat Sox Yarn, and then you'll just need to grab a couple from a set of US 2.75 millimeter double pointed needles. Okay, so with a sock, you've got different parts of it. You've got the cuff, you've got the heel flap, where you've got the gusset, sort of where it turns, and then you've got the foot and the toe. And we're really just talking about the heel, the gusset, the heel flap area. So in any pattern, you'll work a heel flap, or I should say most sock patterns, you'll work a heel flap. And at that point, you're just making what will be almost like a perfect square of fabric. And you're only working on 2 needles over about half of the stitches, while the other one just from the cuff just hang loose. But then what you have to do is you've got this sock with this, and pretend that I have a longer cuff. This is just a little mini cuff I did. But the flap goes down, but the foot is now going to need to go as the human foot would go and turn and face outward, right? So this is sometimes called turning the heel, sometimes it's just shaping the heel. You'll see it written different ways, but regardless of what pattern you use, this is sort of the same formula once you're done with the heel flap to turn it so it's going the proper way. So for this pattern, I'm working with Bernat Sox Yarn, as I mentioned before, and you're going to slip the first stitch, which will be purlwise. Whenever it says slip one, unless they tell you otherwise, just assume it's purlwise. And that slip stitch right there is going to make it easier to find what stitches you need later to pick up on, because it'll make sort of a bigger loop. So you're going to slip 1 and then knit 16. 1, 2, 14, 15, 16. Then the pattern calls for an SSK, so this is going to be a decrease, right? So you're going to slip 1, slip 2. Now I should stop and say that for an SSK you actually slip knitwise, so that goes against what I said before, but it just happens to be that the way that it goes for this particular decrease. So then you're going to knit those together through the back loop. All right, and then you're going to knit 1 more stitch, and then you're going to leave these stitches unworked, and you're going to turn. This is because we're working what's called short rows. Short rows shape by having different depths of rows worked at different intervals. All right, so now for the second row, we're going to slip 1, and then we will purl 5. 4, 5. Now we're going to purl 2 together and then purl 1 more. And then we're going to turn again, and we're going to repeat this whole process. I'm going to show you again. So what we're doing is we're working a series of short rows on both sides so that they'll create sort of the little area that cups your foot right under the heel as it turns. All right, so again, this is row 3. We're going to slip 1, and now we're going to knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're gonna do our SSK. I just wanna stop and show you. You'll know that it's time to do your SSK because you'll see a big gap. That's where we turned before. And what you wanna do is you wanna work these 2 stitches together to close the gap. So slip 1, slip 2, knit through the back loop. So just in case if you lose count, you'll always know that that's where you need to close it. All right, knit 1. And now we're gonna turn. And you're going to slip 1, and then you're going to purl 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you'll see we're at this gap again, so we know we've got to work those 2 stitches together, purl 2 together, purl 1, and then we're going to flip again. And so you would just continue exactly in this way as the pattern calls for, but really with each row you're going to knit or purl an additional stitch in between that decrease, and you can already see the little cup of the heel form. And when they're all worked, you'll get this, and you can see it's like a perfect little holder for your heel. And the other cool thing is just to touch base, I mentioned this before, I just want to show you really quickly how all those stitches that we slipped at the beginning leave these really clear loops. And so when you're ready to pick up stitches for the foot, you'll know exactly where to do that as you move on. And that's all there is to it to turning a heel. All right, now hopefully the scary part is good to go for you and you are ready to start knitting socks. You can head on over to yarnspirations.com to get the pattern for this sock and many more, along with Bernat Sox Yarn.